Okay, folks, today we are going to be working on a Rebel 1100. However, this video can apply to pretty much any motorcycle that has a chain drive. The purpose of this video is to kind of just go over the details needed to keep the chain clean as well as keep it lubed, and so you have years of issue-free riding as related to the chain. So I'm going to go over a few things first of all. What I've got this paddock stand, which basically supports my uh, frame, swing arm, and as you can see on both sides, on this particular side, you have to make sure that the paddock is basically right in this area here, because there's a clip right back here, as you can see, and then behind it is your wheel. And so, you got to make sure that on this side you put that frame, you lift that frame up correctly or in the right position. Another thing with the Rebel, so this Rebel is the DCT. It's got the dual clutch transmission. As you can see here, on this dual clutch transmission, there's a catch. When the motorcycle is turned off, it's pretty much sitting in neutral. And so if you try to lift it with the stand and you're on a steep driveway, you could start having issues of rolling. So basically what I do, and I didn't go through this in the video because I kind of feel like pretty much doesn't relate to this video, but I'll just do a disclaimer here. When you go to lift this thing up, make sure you have your brake applied. Apply the brake as the kickstand is down on the ground. I use these wood chucks to just make sure that the bike is a little bit more level. That makes it easier to lift it up on the paddock stand. And then what I do is once it's on the paddock stand, then I release the brake, because at that point it's not going to roll away. So a couple of things to always remember: make sure that you put the brake. Now obviously if you've got a regular bike that doesn't have the DCT, that would be a non-issue because your clutch would be engaged and you would keep it in first gear, and you'd be fine. But in this case with the DCT, you want to make sure that you apply the parking brake. Besides that, it's pretty self-explanatory. When the bike is leaning, like I said, I use the chucks to make it a little bit more straight. That gives you a little bit more leverage on both sides as you're pushing the paddock stand down. And what I do is I use this carrier here to kind of hold the bike, so that it doesn't tip over as I'm pushing down on this side. And it's very simple, and it lifts it up without a problem. So that's that. The next thing that I'd like to cover is I'd like to cover the stuff that we would need for this particular job. So we're going to need gloves. Obviously, I always start off with that. I've got my shop towels. I've got brake cleaner here because that's what I'm going to use to actually clean the chain off. And then I've got gear oil, which is what I'm going to use to lube it. And in between those two, I've got WD-40, which is what I'm going to use to take the brake cleaner off. So what I do, step number one, I use the brake cleaner. I get all the junk off of the chain. Then I use the WD-40 to get the brake cleaner off, and then I lube it up with the gear oil. In that process, I'm going to be using these brushes to scrub both sides, the front side, the bottom side, and the back side of the chain as it goes by. And what that also does is it basically gets into the sprocket, and you're good to go. Okay, so I've got my gloves on, as you can see, and so I'm going to go ahead and start cleaning. So I'm going to use my soft bristle brush right here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean the chain as it's exposed down here. And the way that I do this is I turn my wheel, and as you can see, when I turn my wheel, you can see the chain is moving in the direction that I need it to turn. It doesn't really matter which way you go, but all you're trying to do is just cover each one of these and just basically go through the whole process. And what I'm going to do is use this brush to clean it. I'm going to use this same brush to also apply the gear oil, but I'm going to clean this brush in the middle. Just get rid of all the gunk that's inside the brush. I don't want to use my other two steel brushes because those are going to damage the chain, so I'm literally only going to use this brush. And that's it. So once we're done with that process, I'll come back in and we can talk further. Okay, so we've got our brake cleaner here. I'm going to spray it on there. and then just rub all that gunk off of there. And that's pretty much it for the cleaning part. I covered the whole chain. I can tell when I got to the spot where I had first started, it's all wet there. And so yeah, so now I'm going to go ahead and use my WD-40, repeat the process, and that basically will just take off the brake cleaner film off of the chain so that the gear oil can stick to it. Otherwise, if you leave that and don't do the WD-40 step, then what happens is you put the gear oil, and as you ride, that oil is just going to fall right back off. So you want to take that brake cleaner film off. So here's the part where we spray the WD-40. And I basically make 2 rotations of the tire. So that was rotation 1, and I'm about to do rotation 2. And that's rotation 2. And then what I do, once I get the WD-40 sprayed on it, I do another rotation, but just with the brush. And remember to clean your brush because you have that brake cleaner on it. So I basically clean off the brush. So now my brush is completely clean, and I basically just go through, and as I'm rotating it, I'm also cleaning it. And I do 2 rotations of this as well. That's it. So now we've got the brake cleaner cleaned off the chain. Then we've got the WD-40 that pulled off all the brake cleaner film. And now we'll use the gear oil and just coat the chain with gear oil. For that, I'm not really going to use a brush. I'm going to kind of just loosely apply the gear oil onto the chain. And that's the whole purpose of it, is just to lube the chain. Okay, so I've got my gear oil. As you can see right here, it's basically the 85W140. That's the thickest one that I could find, and I just want it to be thick so that it stays on the chain and doesn't just drip off. And basically, I'm just going to liberally apply it, just like that, and then just rub it in. And again, same thing. I'm just going to make 2 turns as I'm applying it of the wheel. And I'm usually very liberal with this because I want the chain to be completely coated in it. So I'm actually going to do 3 turns, and then I'm just going to do a turn where I just rub it into the chain. So that's 2 turns of the wheel, and then I'm going to go ahead and put that down and just go and just basically rub it all into the chain. And again, same thing, 2 turns of the wheel and should be good to go. And that's 2 turns right there. That's it, folks. That's all there is to it. There's a lot of mess. Put something down on the floor, and yeah, and that should be it. And chain is lubed and won't need to be doing this again for quite some time. Comment, like, share, please. Look for feedback. If you think that using any of these products is not the right thing to do, please tell me. And yeah, go from there. Good luck, guys. Thanks.